I tell you what, this is just the worst thing that you could hear. You know, it's not Tesla's fault exactly that this happened, but it was the enablement of what Tesla did, enabling that person to feel confident enough to take his eyes off the road, to be complacent. And unfortunately, a terrible accident happened. This is probably the worst headline as a Tesla owner that you could want to see. Yes, so I own a Tesla Model Y. I think Elon Musk is this generation's Henry Ford, and I'm excited to see where the future holds for them, right? Call me a Tesla stan, Tesla fanboy, whatever you want. That's fine. But a Tesla driver using autopilot was charged with vehicular homicide and the death of a motorcyclist. Okay. Tesla driver facing vehicular homicide after hitting and killing a motorcyclist. So, um, I use autopilot all the time. When I'm driving, I would venture to say 80% of the time I'm using autopilot, right? As much as you could use cruise control, you can use autopilot. It's really, really, really good. It, it's very similar to what your adaptive to cruise control can do, right? It'll speed up and slow down based on vehicles around you, but it will also go around corners, right? I don't have the full self-driving. I have experienced it and I didn't like it. It did not do the things that I would do, and in fact, it made me really nervous. Um, but it will go in your lane as far as you want to go, right? You could go 1,000 miles down the road, and if you never switch lanes, it will stay in that lane, speeding up and slowing down based on the traffic, and go around the corners, right? All the corners that you're used to. And it can go around some pretty hard banks, right? I've taken it on some country roads, and there's some corners where I'm like, oh, I'm not real sure about this. So I got my hands right over the wheel, but it manages to go. It'll slow down for the corner, it'll make the corner, and it'll speed up out of the corner, and it honestly works amazing. And that's just the free version, right? But seeing that it caused the death of a motorcyclist, that kind of scares me, right? That's not something that I want to see or hear. Definitely, absolutely, never ever want to be a part of. I used to ride motorcycles. I had a Harley Davidson Sportster, and I gave it up before my oldest son was born. And my wife rode on it one time ever, and she saw an accident, not at that time, but she saw an accident, like she witnessed an accident of this motorcycle crash where I don't blame her for that for at all. And it sounds like this is what happened, unfortunately. A Washington man has been arrested and charged with vehicular homicide after a Tesla in autopilot mode slammed into a motorcyclist, killing him. And here's the thing, right? Tesla is not to be blamed for this. You, as the driver, are still in charge, right? Overall, there was a computer problem, it sounds like, that caused this, but you, as the driver, are still responsible for what the car does. Um, the Model S driver identified in the court documents, blah, 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 lurched forward and accelerated and collided with the motorcycle in front of him. The motorcyclist was pronounced dead on the crash site, which is really unfortunate. Talks about who they were. He was 29 years old. The Tesla driver admitting to having one drink prior to the crash, but passed field and blood test. Detectives labeled the distracting driving as the cause, since the driver was using his phone at the time. Tesla is offering new and existing Model S, 3, X, and Y owners the opportunity to experience latest full driving features with 30-day free trial, which is exactly what I did. The 30-day free trial. And actually, I think that expires today. I was not impressed. Not at all. There were two instances where I'm like, what are you doing? And after that, I'm like, I'm done with this. First instance was we were coming up to an intersection. There was a car turning left in front of me, and it slowed down, and then it started creeping out onto the shoulder to go around the car. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just relax. We're not in that big hurry. We don't need to be going off road to get around this car. We just wait 4 more seconds. And the other time was we were driving down the freeway, and we got behind a vehicle, and there were several cars on my left passing us, and there was a gap, a small gap, not a gap that I would have tried to make, not at all. And the car like floored it, put on its blinker, and tried to get over into it. And the truck's coming up behind us, honking at us, and I'm dragging it back over. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "The car did it by himself." And I immediately disabled full self-driving after that. I'm like, no, this is not ready for prime time, not with my family at the wheel. So yeah, that's really, really sad to see. It says under your supervision, full self-driving can drive basically almost anywhere. It will make lane changes, select folks to follow on your navigation route, navigate and other vehicles and objects, and make left and right turns. The company recommends drivers use additional caution and remain attentive when utilizing the feature. It has not become autonomous, and drivers should not be complacent. And Tesla has yet to respond for comment. Oh, I tell you what, this is just the worst thing that you could hear, right? And here's the thing with Tesla, right? There's always these smear campaigns that come out with Tesla, and unfortunately, it's not Tesla's fault exactly that this happened, but it was the enablement of what Tesla did, right? Enabling that person to feel confident enough to take his eyes off the road, to be complacent. And unfortunately, a terrible accident happened. Let's take a look at Ford stock, though, right? We don't talk enough about other car companies. We speak a lot about Tesla, but let's take a look at Ford stock. Ford, we just got a sell signal here on April 16th. We got a sell signal, but Ford has been really struggling. I saw an article the other day that Ford had lost over $132,000 per electric vehicle that they sold. I don't remember specifically. It may have been just been the electric vans, or it may have been the whole electric category in general. But their expenses versus how much they've actually sold in electric vehicles has been like ludicrously weighted in the wrong direction, unfortunately. And I don't know what Ford's going to do, right? Do you think, let me know in the comments, do you think that they're going to keep pushing the electric vehicles forward that they have? I've always been of the mindset of, like, whenever we talk motorcycles, right? Since we're talking about motorcycles, right? For me, there are no other motorcycles except Harley Davidsons. And so for people who own EVs, or people who are looking for EVs, there are no other EVs except Teslas. And so I think that is the biggest hurdle that all the other auto manufacturers are like not able to accomplish, is the fact that their batteries like explode in people's garages. Teslas are really, really safe. The allure of everybody else's EVs, they're not there. Nobody wants them. They all want Teslas. The technology inside the Teslas is heads and shoulders above everything that Ford is making. So I'm not really sure how Ford is going to handle this, right? But I do know that we got a sell signal. In fact, looking at the performance summary here, we can see that Outliers outperformed buy and hold significantly, 106.27% returns versus 46.82% for buy and hold. So Outliers just really dominating these buy and sell signals. But I do want to send you something that I use whenever I look to trade. It's called my Bullish Power cheat sheet. You can get a free copy of it over at bullishpower.com. It shows you exactly step by step on one simple page everything that I look for whenever I'm looking to buy a stock. Now let's go take a look and see what the internet has to say about this, right? Breaking: the National Highway Traffic Safety Association. I don't actually know what NTSHA is. I'm just trying to make it up. Closed its long-running probe of Tesla's autopilot. It reviewed hundreds of crashes involving autopilot misuse, including 13 that were fatal. Says there's a critical security gap between driver expectations and the capabilities. Let's see what people say. Gosh, wonder why autopilot, full self-driving. Oh, because they're making it sound that way, right? If it were not marketed that way, some tiny small print saying otherwise. Yeah, I get that. Let's see what else. I've had FSD, full self-driving, from nearly the beginning, and any gap is not Tesla's fault. There are so many times the system alerts and warns you to always pay attention, and that's requiring supervision prior to enabling it. He is so true. Every 30 seconds to a minute, you get a flash on the screen. It's like, take the wheel, right? Grab the wheel so we can prove that you're paying attention. And one time, I wanted to see what would happen if I didn't grab the wheel, and it shut it down. It said, it is disabled for this drive. Tough McGillicuddies. You are not allowed to use this anymore today. I was like, whoa, okay. During the drive, there are so many obnoxious or obvious alerts to pay attention regularly, and even loud, obnoxious disable alert. Nobody can mess within the system. That's what I'm talking about. It's like all these disclaimers not to enter the animal cages at the zoo, yet a kid still climbs into the animal cage, which explains the gap. Not Tesla. It's misleading or uncommunicative, and not Tesla being misleading or uncommunicative in any way. So yeah, I see both sides of the story here. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about this. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Outlier Live. We will see you on the next episode.